Hey, everyone. Today we're delving into a moment in history that still echoes with sorrow and grief. The tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy.
Has been assassinated. It's official now. The president is dead.
It's not just a story. It's a pivotal moment that shook the world. November 22nd, 1963, in Dallas, Texas. A day that began with hope, ended in profound sadness. As we revisit this dark chapter, we'll explore the events leading up to that fateful day, the shocking footage that captured the nation's heartbreak, and the myriad of theories that emerged in the aftermath. Join us on this emotional journey through a pivotal moment in American history, as we reflect on the legacy of JFK and seek to understand the lingering questions surrounding his untimely demise of President JFK on November 22, 1963. In the autumn of 1963, President John F. Kennedy was strategically laying the groundwork for the imminent presidential campaign. Although he had yet to officially announce his candidacy, the signs of preparation and confidence in seeking re-election were unmistakable. A pivotal moment came in September when JFK embarked on a tour across 9 states in less than a week, using the platform to emphasize natural resources and conservation while subtly introducing themes for the upcoming 1964 run. As October unfolded, the president addressed Democratic gatherings in Boston and Philadelphia, setting the stage for a critical political planning session on November 12th. During this session, Kennedy underscored the strategic importance of winning states like Florida and Texas, recognizing their impact on the electoral landscape. This was particularly crucial given the internal feud among party leaders in Texas, a potential threat to Kennedy's aspirations. Despite the brewing political tensions and the vocal presence of extremists, JFK eagerly embarked on a 2-day tour of Texas, commencing with stops in San Antonio, Houston, and Fort Worth. The journey not only aimed to unify Democrats in the state, but also showcased Kennedy's commitment to engaging with the public and navigating the complex political landscape on the ground. A light rain was falling on Friday morning, November 22nd, but a crowd of several thousand stood in the parking lot outside the Texas hotel where the Kennedys had spent the night. A platform was set up, and the president, wearing no protection against the weather, came out to make some brief remarks. "There are no faint hearts in Fort Worth," he began, "and I appreciate your being here this morning. Mrs. Kennedy is organizing herself. It takes longer, but, of course, she looks better than we do when she does it." He went on to talk about the nation's need for being second to none in defense and in space, for continued growth in the economy, and the willingness of citizens of the United States to assume the burdens of leadership. The warmth of the audience's response was palpable as the president reached out to shake hands amidst a sea of smiling faces. Back inside the hotel, the president spoke at a breakfast of the Fort Worth Chamber of Commerce, focusing on military preparedness. "We are still the keystone in the arch of freedom," he said. "We will continue to do our duty, and the people of Texas will be in the lead." The presidential party left the hotel and went by motorcade to Carswell Air Force Base for the 13-minute flight to Dallas. Arriving at Love Field, President and Mrs. Kennedy disembarked and immediately walked toward a fence where a crowd of well-wishers had gathered, and they spent several minutes shaking hands. The First Lady received a bouquet of red roses, which she brought with her to the waiting limousine. Governor John Connally and his wife Nellie were already seated in the open convertible as the Kennedys entered and sat behind them. Since it was no longer raining, the plastic bubble top had been left off. The Vice President and Mrs. Johnson occupied another car in the motorcade. The procession left the airport and traveled along a 10-mile route that wound through downtown Dallas on the way to the Trade Mart, where the president was scheduled to speak at a luncheon. Crowds of excited people lined the streets and waved to the Kennedys. The car turned off Main Street at Dealey Plaza around 12:30 p.m. As it was passing the Texas School Book Depository, gunfire suddenly reverberated in the plaza. Bullets struck the president's neck and head, and he slumped over toward Mrs. Kennedy. The governor was shot in his back. The car sped off to Parkland Memorial Hospital just a few minutes away. But little could be done for the president. A Catholic priest was summoned to administer the last rites, and at 1 p.m., John F. Kennedy was pronounced dead. Though seriously wounded, Governor Connally would recover. The president's body was brought to Love Field and placed on Air Force One. Before the plane took off, a grim-faced Lyndon B. Johnson stood in the tight, crowded compartment and took the oath of office, administered by U.S. District Court Judge Sarah Hughes. The brief ceremony took place at 2:38 p.m. Less than an hour earlier, police had arrested Lee Harvey Oswald, a recently hired employee at the Texas School Book Depository. He was being held for the assassination of President Kennedy and the fatal shooting, shortly afterward, of Patrolman J.D. Tippit on a Dallas street. On Sunday morning, November 24th, Oswald was scheduled to be transferred from police headquarters to the county jail. Viewers across America, watching the live television coverage, suddenly saw a man aim a pistol and fire at point-blank range. The assailant was identified as Jack Ruby, a local nightclub owner. Oswald died 2 hours later at Parkland Hospital. That same day, President Kennedy's flag-draped casket was moved from the White House to the Capitol on a caisson drawn by 6 gray horses, accompanied by 1 riderless black horse. At Mrs. Kennedy's request, the cortege and other ceremonial details were modeled on the funeral of Abraham Lincoln. Crowds lined Pennsylvania Avenue, and many wept openly as the caisson passed. During the 21 hours that the president's body lay in state in the Capitol Rotunda, about 250,000 people filed by to pay their respects. On Monday, November 25th, 1963, President Kennedy was laid to rest in Arlington National Cemetery. The funeral was attended by heads of state and representatives from more than 100 countries, with untold millions more watching on television. Afterward, at the gravesite, Mrs. Kennedy and her husband's brothers, Robert and Edward, lit an eternal flame. Perhaps the most indelible images of the day were the salute to his father, given by little John F. Kennedy, Jr., whose 3rd birthday it was, daughter Caroline kneeling next to her mother at the president's bier, and the extraordinary grace and dignity shown by Jacqueline Kennedy. In the aftermath of President Kennedy's assassination on November 29, 1963, President Lyndon B. Johnson formed the President's Commission on the Assassination of President Kennedy, commonly referred to as the Warren Commission. Led by Chief Justice Earl Warren, its purpose was to assess all aspects related to the assassination and the subsequent killing of the alleged assassin, with a directive to present its findings and conclusions to President Johnson. In 1976, responding to concerns about the adequacy of previous investigations and suspicions of incomplete cooperation from federal agencies, the U.S. House of Representatives established the House Select Committee on Assassinations. Tasked with reopening the inquiry into Kennedy's assassination, this committee aimed to address lingering questions and criticisms surrounding the event. In our exploration of this somber chapter, we aim to honor the memory of President Kennedy and those affected by his untimely death. This journey into the past is a solemn reminder that history is shaped by both triumphs and tragedies. As we navigate through the intricate tapestry of historical narratives, we invite you to join us in unraveling the complexities that define our shared human experience. In the coming videos, we will delve into more chapters of history and what's happening around the world, each with its unique stories and lessons. Thank you for being a part of the Behind the Date family. We appreciate your support and love.